The massive alien ships appeared on a quiet Tuesday morning. They simply materialized above every major city on Earth, their sleek silver hulls reflecting sunlight like mirrors in the sky. Humanity's first contact with an advanced civilization didn't come with a message of peace or war. It came with a challenge. Admiral Stone stood at the window of the United Earth Defense Headquarters, his weathered hands clasped behind his back. The largest alien vessel hung above New York City like a metallic cloud, stretching nearly 2 miles from end to end. 27 years of military service hadn't prepared him for this moment. "Sir," his aide spoke from behind him. "They're broadcasting again." Stone turned away from the window. On the main screen, the alien commander appeared. They called him Commander Gray, though Stone doubted that was his real name. The alien's blue-tinted skin and large eyes gave him an almost regal appearance, matched by the obvious arrogance in his expression. "People of Earth," Gray's translated voice filled the room. "The Stellar Assembly has watched your development for some time. Your species shows potential." He paused, his lip curling in what seemed to be amusement. "However, your military capabilities are concerning. Primitive, by our standards." Stone felt his jaw tighten, but kept his face neutral. Around the room, other military leaders from various nations watched in tense silence. "We offer you a choice," Gray continued. "Submit to becoming a protectorate of the Assembly, or prove your worth through a series of combat trials. Should you pass our tests, you will be welcomed as equals." The room erupted in whispers. Stone raised his hand, silencing them. "And if we refuse both options?" Gray's large eyes narrowed. "Then we will have no choice but to assume you are too dangerous to be left to develop independently. The consequences would be unfortunate." Stone watched as satellite imagery showed more alien ships entering orbit. Their weapons systems alone could probably level every major city in hours. He had read the preliminary reports. Their technology was centuries ahead of Earth's. "You have 6 hours to decide," Gray announced. "Choose wisely." The transmission ended. The room immediately burst into heated discussion. Russian, Chinese, American, and European military leaders argued about the best course of action. Some wanted immediate surrender to protect their people. Others called for a fight to the last man. Stone walked to the center of the room and cleared his throat. The arguing continued. He picked up a metal cup and dropped it on the table with a loud clang. Silence fell. "They're testing us," he said simply. "Everything about this is a test. The sudden appearance, the ultimatum, the time limit. They're watching how we react under pressure." General Walker from the British forces leaned forward. "What do you suggest, Admiral?" "We take their challenge." Stone activated the room's holographic display, showing the alien fleet positions. "But we do it smart. They expect us to either cower or rage. Let's surprise them with unity and calm acceptance." The Chinese general, Wu, nodded slowly. "You think they're underestimating us deliberately." "I think they're overconfident," Stone replied. "And overconfidence leads to mistakes." The room grew quiet as the implications sank in. Stone looked at each face in turn. "We show them what they expect to see. A less advanced species trying its best. But we watch, we learn, and most importantly, we look for opportunities." After 2 hours of discussion, Earth's response was ready. Stone stood before the communication array, straightened his uniform, and signaled for transmission. "Commander Gray," he spoke clearly and calmly, "on behalf of Earth's combined military forces, we accept your challenge. We will participate in your combat trials." Gray's face appeared on screen, his expression smug. "Excellent choice, Admiral. We begin tomorrow at dawn. Try not to embarrass yourselves too badly." As the transmission ended, Stone allowed himself a small smile. Let them think they had the upper hand. The real test would be seeing how long it took these advanced aliens to realize they were being played. Sometimes the best strategy was letting your opponent believe they were smarter than you. Earth would show its true capabilities when the time was right. Not a moment sooner. The red dust of Mars swirled around the testing grounds as human soldiers took their positions. The stellar assembly had transformed a section of the planet into a massive combat trial arena in less than 24 hours. Their engineering capabilities were frightening. Admiral Stone watched from the observation deck as Commander Gray strutted around, showing off their advanced targeting range. The aliens' blue skin seemed to glow under the harsh Martian sunlight. "Observe," Gray announced, gesturing to one of his soldiers. The alien warrior raised a sleek rifle and fired 6 shots in rapid succession. Each blast hit dead center of 6 different targets over a mile away. 99.99% accuracy. The standard for any civilized species. Stone kept his face carefully blank. Behind him, 20 of Earth's best soldiers waited for their turn. They had been chosen from different nations: American, Russian, Chinese, British, Indian, a show of human unity. "Your turn," Gray said with a smirk. "Try not to miss the planet entirely." The first human soldier stepped up. Captain Rogers adjusted his basic Earth-made rifle and took aim. His first shot hit the outer ring of the target. His second missed by 3 inches. The third clipped the edge. Gray's laugh echoed through the chamber. "Perhaps we should move the targets closer. Make it easier for your primitive weapons." Stone raised his hand. "We'll continue at the current distance." One by one, the human soldiers took their turns. None managed better than 85% accuracy. Some performed even worse. Their shots scattered around the targets like buckshot. "This is painful to watch," Gray said, shaking his head. "Your targeting systems must be completely analog. How did you even make it to space?" Stone watched as the last soldier finished their round. "We work with what we have, Commander. Not everyone can be as advanced as the assembly." Gray walked over to a holographic display, pulling up the test results. Average accuracy, 84.7%. Barely above basic qualification levels for our youngest cadets. He turned to Stone. "Are these really your best shooters?" "Some of them," Stone replied cryptically. In the background, maintenance crews cleaned up the firing range. Small cleaning robots swept up spent cartridges and debris, their red lights blinking as they worked. "We'll continue these trials for the next week," Gray announced. "Different scenarios, different challenges. Though I must say, if this is your peak performance." He left the sentence hanging. Stone nodded to his soldiers, who began packing up their equipment. Each movement was measured, careful. No wasted motion. "Tell me, Admiral," Gray said, his voice dripping with false concern, "how does it feel knowing your species is so far behind? That your best efforts appear as child's play to us?" Stone looked out over the Martian landscape, where the setting sun painted the sky in shades of deep red. "It's certainly enlightening, Commander. We learn something new with every shot." "Learn? What could you possibly learn from such failure?" "There's always something to learn," Stone said quietly. "Even from failure. Especially from failure." Gray laughed again and walked away to consult with his officers. As soon as he was out of earshot, General Wu approached Stone. "The men are getting frustrated," Wu whispered. "It's not easy for them to perform like this." Stone nodded slightly. "Remind them what's at stake. Being underestimated is our greatest advantage right now." And the secondary objective. Proceeding exactly as planned, Stone watched as another group of cleaning robots swept the range. "They're so focused on our poor accuracy, they're not paying attention to where those missed shots are actually going." Wu allowed himself a small smile. "Arrogance blinds them." Indeed. Stone straightened his uniform. "Tell the men good work today. Every missed shot is another piece in place." As they prepared to return to their base, Commander Gray's voice rang out one last time. "We'll try some moving targets tomorrow, Admiral. Though perhaps we should start with them moving very, very slowly." Stone didn't reply. Let them laugh. Let them mock. Every taunt, every sneer, Every dismissive comment only made their plan easier to execute. The real shooting would start when they were ready, not a moment sooner. 3 months earlier, in a deep underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Stone had gathered Earth's top military minds. The room was silent as they watched grainy telescope footage of the approaching alien fleet. "They'll be here in 12 weeks, Stone said, pointing to the projection, "and they're not trying to hide their approach." "That tells us something important." "They're confident," General Wu stated. "Too confident." Stone nodded. "Exactly. Our deep space sensors picked them up by accident. They didn't care if we saw them coming." The room's massive screen switched to showing close-up images of the alien ships. Their hulls gleamed with an odd, self-repairing metal that seemed to flow like liquid. "The assembly's technology is centuries ahead of ours," Stone continued. "But that's not our biggest problem. Our biggest problem is that they know it." He pressed a button, and a new image appeared. It showed microscopic machines, each smaller than a grain of dust. "This is what we've been developing in secret for the past decade. Maintenance nanites. Not weapons, not ships, not defense systems. Just tiny robots that fix things." The other officers leaned forward, interest sparked in their eyes. "The aliens will expect us to try to match their firepower," Stone explained. "They'll expect us to show off our best weapons, our most advanced technology. And when we do, they'll laugh, because nothing we have can compare to their capabilities." He smiled. "So we won't show them anything impressive at all." The plan was called Operation Blind Spot. It was beautiful in its simplicity. Every bullet, every shell, every projectile fired during the coming trials would be coated with these self-replicating maintenance nanites. They would spread through the alien systems like a helpful virus, waiting for activation. Back in the present day, Stone stood in his private quarters on the Mars base, looking at the latest report. The nanite infection rate had reached 60% of all alien systems. Every missed shot in the trials had been precisely calculated to spread their microscopic infiltrators. A knock at his door. "Enter." Captain Rogers stepped in, his face showing the strain of another day of deliberately missing targets. "Sir, the men are asking questions. Some of them think we're really surrendering to these aliens." Stone walked to a small safe in the wall and opened it. Inside was a single bullet, glowing faintly under a microscope. "Look at this, Captain," Stone said, gesturing him over. "What do you see?" Rogers peered through the microscope. "It's moving. The metal is moving." "Those are our real weapons," Stone explained. "Every bad shot, every missed target, every failure is actually a perfect hit. We're not trying to destroy their ships or hurt their soldiers. We're teaching their own maintenance systems how to work for us." Understanding dawned in Rogers' eyes. "The cleaning robots on the range, already infected. They carry our nanites back to their ships, where they spread to more systems." Stone closed the safe. "The aliens think their technology is so advanced that they don't even scan for simple maintenance spots. Why would they? We're just primitive humans. And when we have enough of them in their systems, then we show them what real accuracy looks like." Stone's smile was grim, but not yet. "For now, keep missing those shots. Every failure brings us closer to victory." In the distance, they could hear Commander Gray laughing at another human soldier's poor performance. "Sir," Rogers said quietly, "that's brilliant." "No," Stone corrected. "It's human. We've spent our entire history learning to survive against stronger opponents. The assembly thinks that because they have better technology, they're smarter. That's not just arrogant, it's dangerous." A message flashed on Stone's tablet. Another section of alien systems had been infected. Soon, very soon, they would have enough coverage to act. "Dismissed, Captain," Stone said. "Go miss some more targets. Make it look good." As Rogers left, Stone looked out at the alien ships gleaming in the Martian sunset. They were so proud of their advanced technology that they never considered someone might turn it against them. Sometimes the best weapon wasn't a gun or a ship or even a nanite. Sometimes the best weapon was letting your enemy believe they'd already won. Lieutenant Blue had always been different from other assembly analysts. While his fellow aliens focused on the obvious, he noticed patterns others missed. Today, something about the humans' test results bothered him. He sat in the assembly's data center on their Mars base, reviewing footage from the past week's trials. On the surface, everything looked normal. Humans missing targets, assembly warriors showing perfect accuracy, Commander Gray making jokes about primitive Earth weapons. But the misses, there was something odd about them. Blue pulled up a three-dimensional map of all human shots fired. Each dot represented a missed shot. At first glance, they looked random, scattered like stars in the sky. But when he adjusted the view, "That's impossible," he whispered. The missed shots formed a perfect geometric pattern when viewed from the right angle. No random failures could create such precision. He took his findings to his superior officer. "Sir, look at this pattern. The humans aren't just missing. They're missing exactly where they want to hit." The officer laughed. "Lieutenant, you're seeing things that aren't there. Their accuracy is barely above primitive primates." Commander Gray himself confirmed it. "But sir, enough. Return to your post. Stop wasting time looking for intelligence where there clearly is none." Blue wasn't satisfied. He dug deeper into the data. The cleaning robots were taking longer than usual to complete their rounds. The ship's maintenance cycles were running more frequently. Small things, tiny changes that nobody else seemed to notice or care about. During that day's trials, he watched Admiral Stone carefully. The human leader stood calmly, almost serenely, as his soldiers performed poorly. No frustration, no anger, no shame, just patience. Strange behavior for a military commander watching his best troops fail. Blue muttered to himself. He tried scanning one of the human bullets they'd recovered. The scanner showed nothing unusual, just normal Earth metals and propellants. But something nagged at him. The scanner itself had taken 3.2 seconds longer than normal to complete its analysis. Blue walked to the observation deck where Commander Gray was enjoying another display of human inaccuracy. "Sir," Blue said hesitantly, "I believe we should run a deep scan of our systems." Gray turned, annoyed at the interruption. "Why would we waste resources on that? The humans, their performance is too consistent in its inconsistency, and our maintenance systems are showing unusual patterns." "Lieutenant," Gray's voice dripped with disdain, "look at them. They can barely hit a stationary target at medium range. Their weapons are practically antiques. What possible threat could they pose to our superior technology?" Below them, another human soldier was firing. Miss, miss, hit, miss, miss. Blue watched the stray shots kick up Martian dust in seemingly random places. "That's just it, sir," Blue persisted. "What if they're not trying to match our technology? What if they're trying something else entirely?" Gray waved him away. "Return to your post, Lieutenant. Your imagination is getting the better of you. They're primitives, nothing more." As Blue walked away, he passed Admiral Stone in the hallway. The human nodded politely, but there was something in his eyes, a glimmer of intelligence that didn't match his force's poor performance. In his private terminal, Blue began writing a report detailing all the anomalies he'd noticed. Small things, tiny details that added up to something larger. He titled it, "Potential Strategic Analysis of Human Performance Patterns." The computer took 4.1 seconds longer than normal to save the file. Above him, in the ship's maintenance shaft, a cleaning robot paused its routine. Its red light blinked twice, then resumed its work. Inside its circuits, microscopic machines multiplied silently, spreading through the ship's systems like a gentle tide. Nobody noticed. Nobody except Lieutenant Blue, who stared at his terminal, wondering why even his keyboard felt slightly different under his fingers today. Something was happening. He could feel it. But would anyone believe him before it was too late? Commander Gray stood in the assembly's main control room, staring at a flashing red warning on the central display. Something was wrong with their ship systems, but the diagnostic tools couldn't identify the problem. "Run the scan again," he ordered, his blue skin turning slightly pale. Lieutenant Blue stepped forward, holding a data tablet. "Sir, I've been trying to tell you. Look at this." He pulled up the geometric pattern of human missed shots. Every single miss was perfectly calculated. They weren't missing at all. The door slid open, and Admiral Stone walked in calmly, flanked by Captain Rogers and General Wu. No weapons drawn, no threatening moves, just quiet confidence. "I believe," Stone said, "it's time we had an honest conversation about accuracy." Gray's hand moved toward his weapon, but Stone raised a finger. "I wouldn't. Your weapon's targeting system has been adjusted." "What have you done?" Gray demanded. Stone walked to the central display, his reflection showing in the polished metal walls. "We knew we couldn't match your technology. That was never our goal. Instead, we did what humans have always done. We adapted." He pressed a button on his simple Earth tablet. Suddenly, every screen in the control room lit up with microscopic images. Tiny machines, smaller than dust particles, crawled through the assembly systems. "Nanites," Gray whispered in disbelief. "Maintenance nanites," Stone corrected. "Your arrogance was so complete that you never considered checking for something so primitive. Every missed shot carried thousands of them. Your own cleaning robots spread them through your ships. They'd been multiplying for weeks." Blue's eyes widened. The longer scan times, the delayed system responses. We were being infected the entire time. Gray lunged for the emergency controls, but his access was denied. Stone smiled slightly. "Your ships now recognize our authority," he explained. "The nanites have integrated with every system. They're part of your technology now. We couldn't build better ships than you, so we simply borrowed yours." "Impossible," Gray sputtered. "Our technology is centuries ahead of yours." "Advanced technology doesn't equal superior strategy," Stone said. "You were so proud of your 99.99% accuracy that you never questioned why we were satisfied with 85%. Every missed shot was a perfect hit on our real targets. Your maintenance systems." Captain Rogers stepped forward with a rifle. "Would you like a demonstration of our actual accuracy, Commander?" He fired 3 shots in rapid succession. Each one hit a tiny target on the far wall, forming a perfect triangle pattern. No misses, no wavering, just pure precision. "We're quite good at hitting what we aim at," Rogers said with a slight grin. "We just weren't aiming where you thought we were." Gray sank into a chair, his world crumbling around him. "You could destroy us all." "We could," Stone agreed. "But that's not our goal. The nanites are programmed for control, not destruction. We don't want to defeat the assembly. We want to work with you, as equals." Lieutenant Blue studied the nanite display with professional curiosity. The complexity of this plan, the patience it required. "We severely underestimated your species. A common mistake," Stone said. "One made by every empire that thought technology alone made them superior. True advancement isn't just about having the best weapons. It's about knowing how to think beyond them." He turned to Gray. "So, Commander, shall we discuss new terms? As equals this time?" Gray looked around his powerless control room, at the humans who had outmaneuvered his entire fleet without firing a single shot in anger. Finally, he understood the truth. Humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their aim. It was their minds. The Assembly's flagship hung motionless above Mars, its once proud weapon systems now under human control. In the main conference room, Admiral Stone sat across from Commander Gray, their positions reversed from their first meeting. "Let me demonstrate something," Stone said, picking up a simple laser pointer. He aimed it at a target across the room and clicked. The beam hit dead center. Then he pointed at another target. Another perfect hit. "Would you like to try?" Stone offered the pointer to Gray. The alien commander reached for it, but his hand trembled slightly. When he pressed the button, the beam wobbled and missed completely. He tried again. Another miss. "We haven't harmed your motor functions," Stone explained. "But the nanites now control all targeting systems in your ships and weapons. Even that simple pointer won't work without our permission." Lieutenant Blue, who had been allowed to stay due to his earlier insights, studied a data screen. "The integration is complete. They've merged with our neural interfaces too. Everything that makes our technology smart now has human programming mixed into its core." Gray's face showed a mix of anger and fear. "You could kill us all with a single command." "We could," Stone agreed, "just like you could have destroyed Earth at any time during the past week. But we chose a different path. Just as we're offering you a choice now." The room's main screen activated, showing the status of the Assembly's fleet. Thousands of ships, all infected, all under human control. But every life support system still functioned perfectly. Every crew member was safe. "Your people's lives were never in danger," Stone continued. "The nanites were programmed with strict rules. Protect life. Maintain essential systems. Only control weapons and targeting." A small cleaning robot rolled into the room, its red light blinking steadily. Gray watched it with new understanding. "Even now," he said quietly, "they're still spreading." "No," Stone corrected. "They've reached their preset limit. We don't need or want total control. Just enough to ensure peace." Captain Rogers entered with a tablet showing new data. "Sir, all assembly ships report the same status. Weapons controlled, crews safe, communication systems open." Stone nodded. "Thank you, Captain." He turned back to Gray. "Now let's talk about what happens next." "You want revenge," Gray said bitterly, "for how we treated you." "Actually," Stone smiled slightly, "we want trade agreements, cultural exchange programs, scientific cooperation, all the things you should have offered in the first place, instead of threats and mockery." Blue looked up from his screen. "You planned this from the beginning, even before we arrived." "We detected your fleet months ago," Stone explained. "We had a choice. Prepare for war or prepare for peace. We chose peace, but we had to make sure you'd choose it too." Gray's shoulders slumped. "By taking away our ability to choose war at all." "Temporarily," Stone assured him. "Once new treaties are signed, once real trust is established, the nanites can be deactivated. They'll break down naturally over time, leaving your systems clean and fully under your control again." Outside the window, Earth shone like a blue jewel in the black sky, home to a species that the Assembly had fatally underestimated. "Your people are not primitive," Blue said, almost to himself. "We were primitive, thinking that superior technology made us superior beings." Stone stood and walked to a cabinet. He retrieved 2 glasses and a bottle of Earth whiskey. "Commander Gray, would you join me in a drink? On Earth, it's customary to share a drink when beginning new friendships." Gray stared at the offered glass for a long moment. Finally, he reached out and took it. His hand was steady this time. "To new beginnings," Stone said, raising his glass. "To new understandings," Gray replied, and drank. The future would be complicated, but at least now they faced it as equals. Sometimes the best victory wasn't defeating your enemy. It was turning them into an ally instead. 1 month after the revelation of humanity's plan, the Mars base had transformed. Where once there had been separate human and alien sections, now assembly engineers worked side by side with Earth scientists. The air of superiority had been replaced by genuine curiosity. Admiral Stone watched from his usual spot by the window as a group of human soldiers taught assembly warriors about old Earth military tactics. The aliens were particularly interested in something they'd never considered before: fighting without advanced targeting systems. "It's still hard to believe," Commander Gray said, walking up beside Stone. "A month ago, I thought we were watching humans fail. Instead, We were watching the most precise military operation in assembly history. Stone turned to face his former adversary. The alien commander looked different now, more relaxed, more genuine. Amazing what the loss of arrogance could do for one's appearance. The nanites are starting to break down in the non-essential systems, Gray continued, just as you promised. Our engineers have confirmed it. Trust works both ways, Stone replied. We're keeping our word. Lieutenant Blue approached them with a data tablet. In the past month, he'd become the official liaison between human and alien technical teams. His ability to spot patterns had earned him a promotion. The cultural exchange program is exceeding expectations, Blue reported. Humans are particularly interested in our art forms, while our people are fascinated by Earth's music. And the scientific cooperation. He paused, shaking his head in wonder. We thought we had nothing to learn from Earth. We were wrong. Through the window, they could see Captain Rogers leading the shooting demonstration. No targeting computers, no advanced aids, just pure skill and steady hands. A group of assembly warriors watched in amazement as he hit target after target. That's what we missed, Gray said quietly. You never needed computers to be accurate. You chose to develop skills instead of relying on technology. Different paths to the same goal, Stone agreed. That's why this alliance can work. We each have something to teach the other. A small cleaning robot rolled past them, its lights now green instead of red. The nanites were being gradually reprogrammed, shifting from control to cooperation, just like their creators. The Assembly Council sends their final approval, Gray announced. Earth will have a permanent seat at the galactic table. Full membership, full rights, full respect. Stone nodded. And the military testing program. Completely reformed. No more demands for submission. No more threats. From now on, we seek to understand new species, not dominate them. Gray actually smiled. You taught us that strength comes in many forms. Outside, the Martian sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of pink and orange. Earth glowed like a distant beacon, while assembly ships moved peacefully through space, their weapons dormant, but their scientific equipment busy studying everything they'd previously ignored. You know, Blue said thoughtfully, some of our historians are already calling this the humbling of the assembly. But I think they're missing the point. Oh, Stone raised an eyebrow. This wasn't about humbling anyone. It was about lifting everyone up. Humans proved they were our equals not by destroying us, but by showing us a better way. Gray nodded slowly. Perhaps that's the greatest lesson in all of this. True civilization isn't about who has the best weapons or the most advanced technology. It's about having the wisdom to use what you have for the right reasons. As if to emphasize the point, a human child's laughter echoed through the corridor, one of the first families to join the cultural exchange program. An assembly child's matching laughter followed. Stone smiled. To the future, then. To the future, Gray agreed. One will build together. Behind them, the sun finally set on Mars, but its light caught the Earth just right, making it shine like a jewel in the darkness. A reminder that sometimes the most primitive-looking worlds held the greatest surprises, and somewhere in the vast expanse of space, other advanced civilizations waited, unaware that the Assembly's next visit would be very different from their last. After all, they had learned an important lesson. Never judge a species by their aim.